Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight. What does it take for a cruise line to home port in the Bahamas during a pandemic? We take you behind the scenes. When will the straw market reopen now that cruise ships are back in Nassau? And later, a local beauty queen gives us tips on how to become uncaged. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain, topping news tonight. The Adventure of the Seas has officially set sail from Port Nassau, but the journey to getting on the ship meant that some 1,100 visitors from around the world had to be tested by the Doctors Hospital team before boarding the ship. Tonight we take a look into the testing headquarters. The British Colonial Hilton was transformed into the first check-in point for cruise ship passengers. One by one, tour buses shuttled guests in from various hotels and Airbnbs from across the island. Once at the British Colonial, there was temperature check and bag check at the front door. After storing their luggage, guests were taken upstairs, where the hotel's ballrooms were completely transformed to testing stations.
Hi. Welcome to the Bahamas, and thank you for choosing Doctors Hospital. Can I see your pre-registrations, please?
After checking in, guests waited on a swiftly moving line to get tested, but their excitement for the impending cruise outweighed any nerves they may have had about testing. All the way from Massachusetts, Heather Bauer was excited for her first vacation in over 20 years, and she said she couldn't pick a better time than after months of lockdowns and curfews.
Relaxing, enjoying myself, going swim with dolphins, and just have a best time.
What made you decide that you want to go to the Bahamas?
This one. He did this.
Love the Bahamas. Glad to be here.
Okay, tell me, what are your plans? What are you looking forward to most?
Everything. Festivities, leaving, sailing, playing with the dolphins. Everything. Good food.
Everything. Is this your first vacation?
Mine, yes. Oh yeah, it's been 23 years. Yes. Yep.
Really looking forward.
Oh, ecstatic. Like, I'm shaking right now. I'm gonna have so much fun.
Rosemary Lehman and her husband flew in from Santa Monica, California, and they are no strangers to cruising.
How many cruises have you been on before?
100.
So you really have
We've been going through withdrawals.
Yeah. We are regular cruisers, so yeah, we love it. It's a great way to travel. Just relax, enjoy being on the ship. We're just so excited to be back cruising. So really looking forward to it. And they've done a great job setting all this up, and everyone's been so welcoming. So it's great.
Inside the ballroom, 75 sample gatherers waited in partitioned areas as the guests filed in for their COVID-19 rapid antigen tests. 30 minutes following the test results are sent directly to the guests' cell phones to be scanned at the port. Lab Director Harriet Lundy said a new device is being used to determine more accuracy from the tests.
Royal Caribbean Cruise Line has introduced a new product to the point-of-care screening called the Lumera, and it's a diagnostic tool that has increase accuracy, and it's going to put much more people on the cruise. So with the increased accuracy, we're going to see less false positive and false negatives occurring. The government has approved this material and this instrumentation, and so we hope to make it a product line of Doctors Hospital as well.
In the event of a positive test, guests would undergo a PCR test and be shuttled to a quarantine treatment facility provided by Doctors Hospital. Chief Financial Officer Dennis DeVoe said the hospital is excited about this new partnership with RCL to protect not only the cruise guests, but also Bahamians who will come in contact with them.
1,000 people per day is certainly very manageable for our lab. Our capacity, as an example, on a monthly basis is in excess of 70,000 tests. And so we've planned our resources to ensure that every person that tests is out from the time they enter to the time they leave in about 35 minutes. And so we're very happy to deliver that service, certainly for Royal Caribbean, but it's something that we do and are happy to do every single day.
After their tests were complete, those guests loaded onto their tour buses and were off to board the Adventure of the Seas that is now scheduled to be having some fun at Perfect Day Coco Key. And with construction still underway at Nassau Cruise Port Development, President and CEO Mike Mora says he's looking forward to the reopening of the straw market along Bay Street. He says while the cruise port will have a number of cultural expressions and artifacts once complete at the end of the summer next year, the port does not want to compete with the straw market.
Approach that we're taking in terms of product mix and everything is that we don't want to, there's no reason for us to compete with the straw market. It doesn't serve anyone's purpose if we're selling the same types of items, not us directly, but our tenants, if they're selling the same types of items that are sold within the straw market. Because the only thing that does is take money out of your pocket and put it in his pocket. That doesn't actually allow our economy to grow.
The straw market has been closed since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Morris says the goal is for everyone to do well, from hotels to vendors.
And so what our focus is about bringing new, creative, interesting Bahamian products to our space, which elevate commerce, which boost GDP, and not simply move wealth from Bay Street to us, or from us to Bay Street, or from the straw market to us. That doesn't serve anybody.
And Marco City MP Michael Pintard says he and his team did all they could in his constituency given the challenges. Our Bethany McDermott reports.
After 4 years of representing Marco City, does Member of Parliament Michael Pintard think he will be returned to that seat in Parliament?
I won't make predictions in terms of outcome. I would simply say that Bahamians are generally quite wise in making their determination. My role is to show up and deliver as I committed prior to the election, and to accept the outcome of whatever they decide. And in any event, it's been an honor to serve in Marco City.
In the 2017 general election, Pintard defeated the PLP's candidate by more than 1,700 votes. Pintard, who was also the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, touted the work done in his constituency. Topping that list was the formation of a coalition of support from all political divides.
We welcome persons from all political organizations to work with us, and we have been pleased that we've had full support from persons who have identified themselves as being a part of other political organizations, because they recognize that we don't watch colors. We understand that we have a mandate in order to transform lives, to help people recover from Dorian, and to cope in the midst of a pandemic.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, Pintard said more than 1,500 homes in his constituency were damaged. In the aftermath of the monster storm, the Minister administration was heavily criticized in some quarters for its response.
I think it was a mixed bag. There were persons who were extremely grateful for the assistance that they got, and there were areas where persons registered concern that things could have been done differently or better. We knew from the beginning it would be virtually impossible to repair all of the homes that were damaged, or to restore homes that had been completely lost, because you were dealing with thousands of homes.
He noted that the funds donated and allocated by government weren't enough.
Government began in a deficit in terms of the amount of money required, the initial 10 million, then the 15 million allocated, and the small amount of donations provided would not have been sufficient. Many persons made pledges, and when you look at the substance of the pledges, you recognize that some of these were thinly veiled loans that were being offered.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Well, still to come on Our News, we take a look into what goes into storm predictions. And the president of the Bahamas' umbrella union discusses how far the labor movement has come. That's coming up when Our News returns.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Have you ever wondered how meteorologists sometimes forecast a storm or hurricane to be much weaker or stronger than it actually turns out to be? Well, it turns out the science of weather predictions is not exact. Our Christina Dragovich has the breakdown.
There are some things you can predict when it comes to weather, and others you can't.
I know our meteorologists tend to get a lot of flack for the accuracy of forecast information, but it is a science. And, we do have some interesting tools available to help us. We have a lot of models, but those models need to be downscaled. And the level of scale that they need to be downscaled to in order to be accurate for our islands is very difficult because our islands are so small.
Although forecasters are able to analyze weather patterns and formulate predictions, there are still some things that cannot be measured by science. Jordan Jones is a PhD candidate at Colorado State University, known for its seasonal hurricane predictions. She helped to author this year's predictions.
There's just so many aspects of hurricanes that we will never be able to predict fully, right? Because there is an amount of randomness even within the signals, kind of like music or sound. There are just some things that you cannot pick up.
Then there are instances where a hurricane may rapidly intensify and jump categories in a matter of hours. Hurricane expert Dr. Rick Knabb says events like that are also difficult to predict, but easy to prepare for if individuals remain ready throughout hurricane season.
I think a lot of people really do think about a tropical storm or hurricane as primarily a wind machine. And it is that, but wind, again, historically, is not what takes the most lives. People forget about the water impacts. And it doesn't take a major hurricane, Cat 3 or stronger on the wind scale, to have a major impact. If it's a large and or slow-moving system, the water impacts can really be a lot more than people think is scientifically possible.
So are we ready for the next big one? The breakdown airs tomorrow night on RTV right after the evening news. Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovich.
The labor movement is still fighting to be respected, according to President of the National Trade Union Congress, Bernard Evans, who says while labor has its part to play, employers must respect labor laws. According to Evans, while there has been some advancement in the labor movement, there has been some regression.
The Industrial Relations Act was formed or created to police and govern how you have industrial relations in the workplace. It tells you how the shop could be organized. It needs 50 plus 1% or what have you. But once you have that, the law says you should have recognition. And once you have that, dues ought to be paid for that particular union, and then the employer is bound, duty bound, legally bound to sit down and begin negotiations, contract negotiations. Well, we have had for years and years, some employers don't want to engage the employees after the recognition from the Minister of Labor, as per the law. And so there's a blatant disrespect for the law of the country, there's a blatant disrespect for workers and organized labor or union.
Evans says some companies will find a way to circumvent labor laws.
There's still this disrespect, this top-down level, as opposed to we are partners. And the more I empower you as an employee, the more my bottom line would grow. So unfortunately, we haven't seen much of that. But we have seen, though, the increase of employees of employing lawyers, labor lawyers or lawyers who would look through the cracks and weaknesses of our industrial agreements or our industrial act that we have, Industrial Relations Act. They will look through to find out ways to take advantage of the employees. And that has been so disappointing so far.
Evans admits that labor has its part to play.
As we go forward, we seem to be taking a step backwards as well. But labor also has to evolve. As the working landscape changes, we also have to evolve to move with the current kind of work that we have. It's not the old assembly line anymore, where we just hold up cars and general straight, blah, 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 it's our way or the highway. No. So we now have to be partners. We have to sit down now and negotiate with employers. So should we are all a part of your success as an employer, should means my success as an employee.
But when our news comes back from the break, a beauty queen shares her journey from the mud shanty town to the crown. Plus, Powell officials weigh in on the implementation of new travel restrictions in certain countries. The details when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Assistant Director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Jarbas Barbosa, condemning a move by countries such as Spain to restrict international travel for persons who have received vaccinations authorized by the World Health Organization and the European Medicines Agencies only, stating that it could lead to vaccine inequality.
This is a decision to be made by each country, but it is a decision that at this point in time could be more of an element to enhance inequalities. So we need to look for rapid control, because if we attain these measures and what measures can be administered, what vaccines are going to be accepted or not, we are going to create a bureaucracy for the verification of vaccines.
According to Barbosa, this has been an ongoing conversation between the WHO and PAHO as the newly implemented travel regulations go against the message of taking vaccines that are available in country.
These regulations may enhance the inequality in access and also expand inequalities within the countries and among the countries. But as Dr. Ugarte has mentioned, it is important to maintain all of the surveillance and prevention measures so that the countries that are going to reopen tourism can do it cautiously.
Self-confidence, building self-esteem, and breaking free to move mountains is what author Naisha Tillis says you can find in her new book, Uncaged. The 28-year-old never imagined that she would be a beauty queen and author.
What's crazy is everything has prepared me for this moment, and I had no idea. The little girl then, which you will read about in this book, did not see this coming. I didn't think that I was worthy. I didn't know that something like this I would be able to do.
The idea for the book came about in 2017 after her reign as Miss University of the Bahamas. After she placed in the top 5 of the Miss World Bahamas, she knew it was time to put her journey to pageant life on paper.
So the book generally or basically talks about building yourself or finding your self-confidence, I would say, because we all have it in us. So finding our self-confidence, building our self-esteem, and understanding our self-worth. All things women struggle with. Although it's releasing Your Inner Queen, I believe that anyone can read it and just uplift so many things, take so many things from it. There are break-free keys that kind of help you with avoiding caging scenarios, because we can sometimes cage ourselves in and allow others to also keep us in this sense of being in a cage.
Growing up in the mud shanty town, Naisha says that the road to success was far from easy.
Down to being a young lady that grew up in the mud, I would have experienced where family and friends would jokingly laugh about my figure being a 2x4, right? But we don't realize how that affects us as individuals. And for me, I would laugh with them because I thought it was a joke. And it was, mind you, they didn't mean any harm by it. However, it affected me when I grew up in terms of how I viewed myself, how I would walk into any room and what I think they would think of me. It talks about my journey with indirect bullying from classmates. It's so many different scenarios I share in this book, and I feel like it can reach so many different people.
The beauty queen, who is off to participate in the Miss Supranational 2021 pageant next month, has these words of encouragement for those of the former shanty towns. She says the storm will pass.
Even in my journey, because there was a whole lot going on with shanty towns even when I was a little girl. One of the things that I held on to was the fact that if I can't control it, I'll focus on the things that I can. And for me, my success and me pushing and just doing what I can to make or create a better life and space for me is what I was able to do. And for any young girl, boy, anyone watching, I would say focus on what you can control.
To read Naisha's journey to becoming uncaged, grab your copy.
You can find the book here at Chapter One Bookstore. You can also find the book on Amazon. It's available for paperback as well as Kindle, or you can visit my website at www.naishatillis.com, and you can pick up a copy there that can be delivered here in Nassau specifically. An audiobook version will be available in a few weeks.
Well, a 22-year-old aspiring architect is sharing her experience as a woman entering a male-dominated field. Our Jared Higgs has a story.
When Leanne Haven thought about her career, she didn't want to do something ordinary.
Because I have a passion for it, I think. I love architecture, just being able to change the world.
Haven, a former college soccer player, embarked on a journey that has taken her from West Virginia to Texas and now to New York, albeit virtually. The 22-year-old graduated from the University of Charleston back in 2019 with a bachelor's degree in interior design and drafting technologies. This year, she'll finish her master's in architecture at Prairie View A&M University. She says she chose an HBCU because she wanted a different experience than the one she got during her undergrad years.
Being able to be in a class where you see people that look like you was completely different from where I was at, because I was in West Virginia, so there weren't a lot of Black people there. But just being able to like see them around you. And then we have a strong Bahamian base here. There's like 20-something Bahamians here on campus, and they play in the band. So that was also something that I enjoyed, because I only had like 5 or 6 at UC when I was there.
Haven knows she is beating the odds by picking her career path. Research conducted in 2018 revealed that only 7% of architects in the United States are women. Despite the disparity, Haven believes things are starting to improve.
I think right now for me, it's okay. I haven't received any different kind of treatment so far in terms of some of the male counterparts that I have had or I've been in contact with. But, you know, I will say that I think they're trying to do a lot better in terms of bringing more females into the architecture field.
Haven says she learned discipline playing soccer in high school. That discipline has taken her through difficult college matches and long nights of work. But it's paying off. The 22-year-old has her first design building under her belt, Showman Bistro on Mackey Street.
I didn't think that I could do it. Let me say that. Like I was still in the mindset that, you know, I'm in school, you know, I need to focus on school. I'm just not used to doing things on my own. And so that actually was the first project that I did by myself.
Haven is currently doing an internship with an architecture firm based in New York, but with offices all over the United States. While she plans to gain experience abroad, she eventually wants to return home and contribute. As she looks ahead to her career, she wants other Bahamian women, and even men, to know that they can break barriers too.
I would just say take every opportunity that comes in front of you, even if you don't want to do it, just do it.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
A former minister defends her reputation and how the government plans to give back to families who lost healthcare workers due to COVID. That's coming up when Our News returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. It's been quite a week in news, and now we take a look back at some of the most notable quotables. The first quote comes from former Youth, Sports and Culture Minister Lanisha Wool, who defended her service as a cabinet minister during her budget communication in the House of Assembly this week.
Yes, I got a beating for helping them. For the record, Lanisha Wool did not stop the RISE program. The program expired according to the Inter-American Development Bank, and the government of the Bahamas, under the circumstances, did not find it prudent to renew that particular program. Perhaps, to be truthful, I can't keep taking the fall past the mark. I can't keep doing it.
And the second quote comes from Works Minister Desmond Bannister, reacting to the Supreme Court Shantytown ruling.
We can't protect ourselves now. It is nonsense. It's not what the paper is written on. It is now open season for anybody to go on any land and put up any structure they want. and not comply with the law, to enforce the law, the government is going to have to make an application to a judge. You know how silly that sounds?
And the final quote comes from Health Minister Renwood Wells, who revealed the government's plan to pay the families of those healthcare workers who lost their lives as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We had 4 individuals who are part of the healthcare system, the government's healthcare system, who succumbed to COVID in the course of their duties. Those 4 individuals, the government is in the process of paying that $400,000 directly to the families who are deserving of it. There's another $600,000 that we were going to be giving to about 150 individuals. In the first instance, we're seeking to do that by the end of this month.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Stay safe, Bahamas. On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer starts now.